This is Anton. Anton works hard in a regular 9 to 5 job. He's tired and frustrated, but he thinks that this is the only way to earn and make a living. Let's call him person A. Every day at the end of the month, Anton receives a check for his labor and goes to building B. Let's call this building the bank. He enters through the main door, deposits his hard earned money along with millions of other people just like him. Antoine represents 85% of the population of the planet. Now, this is Clayton. Let's call him person C. Unlike Anton, Clayton doesn't work a 9 to 5 job. Actually, he doesn't work at all. His daily activities consist of his favorite pastimes, like having fun, helping people, taking care of his friends and his family. Clayton also goes to Building B, the bank, at the end of the month. The difference between him and Anton, however, is that instead of walking through the main door to deposit money, he enters the bank through a small secret entrance at the back of the building. And instead of depositing the money, he takes the money out of the bank. This is the same money Anton and millions like him had deposited the previous days. Now, after Clayton receives his funding from the bank, which is quite easy to do if you follow certain rules that we show you, he goes and opens up a profitable business where he makes a ton of money without working because he hires, you guessed it, Anton to work for him. At the end of the month, the same scene repeats over and over again. Clayton pays a check to Anton, the same money he got from the bank, the same money Anton deposited in the previous month. Anton gets his check, goes back to the bank and deposits it along with millions of other people. Then Clayton goes to the bank, takes out even more money, and opens other businesses. Clayton also uses his money to invest in things like real estate. By investing large sums of money, he buys properties in bulk for dirt cheap and flips them immediately for a hefty profit. Now he has doubled, tripled, or even quadrupled the money which he got from the bank. And he now has more than plenty to pay the bank back, to pay Antoine and enjoy life. He does what we call non-performance income. That means he doesn't perform. Other people perform for him. He doesn't work. Other people work for him. He just gets the money from the bank, invests it, lays back, relaxes, and watches the income grow. My question is, who do you want to be? It's entirely up to you. Contact us today and discover how you can become person C and escape the 9 to 5 rat race by joining thousands of individuals who got funded through $200, $500, even $1 million and enjoy a happy, carefree life by doing non-performance income. Becoming rich has never been easier. Just stop doing what you're doing and start following the rules.
I want to welcome you to Dream Chasers Radio with me, your host, Yaya Diamond. What's up, people? How you doing? I want to thank everybody that's tuning in, not only on YouTube, but in LWR TV in London and in the UK. Africa podcast. Thank you guys so much for following me. India, I love you. United States, I love you guys too on Spotify. Thank you guys so much for tuning in on the DuPont Network TV. I am in love with you guys for Yaya Diamond's late night. And I just want to thank you guys all. So all of these companies that you're listening to right now that I'm saying, they all need capital. Every single last one of us need capital. There is not one business out there that can run without money, okay? Either you're fronting it from your own pocket, or you're making money and you're putting that into it, or you're getting money and you're getting capital from somewhere else, or you're learning about it. And that's what we're going to be talking about today. We're going to be talking about capital, how you can get it, where you can get it, and legitimate places and people that actually do this, that don't run away with your money or waste your time. And I want to thank you guys again so much for tuning in. I have Derrick on the line today. Economic Masonry, a clever way of growing your wealth through business, corporate funding. Welcome to the show.
Well, thank you. Glad to be here. Happy
Awesome.
Thank you very much.
So before we get into what you do and how you do it and all the wonderful people that you've helped to get the capital and to move forward and to, grow as a business, tell me your story a little bit.
Well, briefly, I don't like talking a lot about me because people get online and they start telling you about how 40 minutes of where they came from and they were poor and then they became rich. And then after that, they say, buy my product. Well, but since you asked, I'll give you a brief little something about me. I came out of Brooklyn as an engineer. mechanical engineer, Pratt, came up to California because I wasn't always doing things I was supposed to do. So I had to leave out of there and get my head together, right? Got here and a lady that I was going with pretty much saved my life. She said, you got education and everything. And she said, I know you're smarter than that. So let's get out of here. I said, okay, you got it. It was the best thing could have happened to me. So women can actually save your life, right? So because it happened to me. So yes, so I got out of there and came here. I landed a job with Raytheon, and they built government missiles. So I worked with them and moved my way up. 17 years, got married, had a family, and sailed around the world like 3 times, installing missiles and building missiles. So we did things like the Patriot missile system, helped do that, the Dragonfly unit and those things. And we went down the Bering Straits and all over about 3 times around the world, and nuclear subs and all that. Got hurt my arm, and the bulkhead blew up. A bulkhead is a wall, right? That I had this top security secret clearance blue, but I couldn't do anything with it because now I was messed up in the arm and I needed my arm. So I got this settlement. I said, you know what? I want to work for myself, right? So I said to my wife, I said, you know what, honey, I'm tired of this. I want to work for myself. And she said, well, I got your back. Again, saved my life, right? So I says, okay, I'm going to give it a go. So I got it. I was his boss because I worked at Sony in their cathode department. I worked for Volution and all these different companies. And he was at Sony. And I said, Phil, why are you always on the phone? It's none of my business, but why are you always on the phone, at break time? He says, well, because, I used to own a famous restaurant. And I'm building a new one. I said, really? He said, yes. So I said, well, what's this all about? So about 3 months later, Phil and I became friends, good friends. And he said, well, the guy I was going in with, the investor, he's out now. He said, so I need the money. I said, well, I got a little settlement, man, And I said, I won't be working here anymore because I can't do much with this arm. So he says, well, let's team up. We opened a restaurant called Homestyle Fish and Chips in San Diego. 1 became 2, 2 became 4, 4 became 8, and we had a chain. Later on, I built aggressively, built a car dealership, Primo and Prime Auto, which we own today. Primo Auto is high end, Jaguar, Mercedes, and Bentley. And low end is Nissan, Toyota, and Honda. That's out of Miramar Road, Primo and Prime Auto in San Diego. For a little something. So,
shameless plug. It's okay. You got to do it. You got to do it.
Gotta do it, right?
Yeah.
So I one day I was walking out the restaurant. A friend of mine, Kyle Freeman, he walked in the restaurant. I said, hey man, where you been? I ain't seen you in years. He said, I was coming to your restaurant. They told me that you might be at this location. I said, yeah, man. Hey man, how's the wife? Everybody. He says, man, this is great. We talked for about an hour or 2. We ate lunch and everything. He said, I got to tell you, Derrick, this is great, but you know what? You're making pennies. I said, pennies? I said, do you see the car I'm driving? I said, do you know the houses I live in, right? He said, yeah, that's great. That's great. I said, I never known you to be a hater, man. All these years I've known you, right? He says, bro, I'm not a hater. He said, but I'm just telling you. I said, well, if I'm making pennies, then show me the dollars. He said, okay, I will. So I said, well, he said, come with me Monday or Tuesday. And I went with him downtown. I'll never forget. Went with him downtown San Diego, Mission Valley it was. Big building we went in, and I said, man, what is this? Lamborghinis, Ferraris, BMW, everything you can imagine. I said, is this a high-end car dealership? He said, no, man. He started laughing. He said, come with me. I said, okay. So now he had my attention.
Uh-oh.
He goes upstairs, he knocks on the door, pulls off, knocks again. Like I said, what's this, a secret knock or what? He said, just wait a minute. We walk in, it's all these guys with these $5,000 and $10,000 suits, shark skins, and sleeves rolled up, and some of them in there doing everything they're doing, and they're all on the phones. And I said, just sit right here at this desk, and I'll be right back. If anybody asks you, you're with me, you're my assistant. I said, okay. So I sit right next to this little young kid, and he's sitting in there, Rolex, and I'm not, what is this? This guy's on the phone. Yes, Mr. Johnson, how much money did I make you? I need 125,000 shares. How much can I make you? How much did I make you last time? You got to ask your wife to put your pants on? And I'm like, that guy evidently hangs up on him. He dials back, and everybody's like, shh, he rings the bell. Quiet. Hi, Mr. Johnson. I'm not trying to insult you or anything, but I'm trying to get you. I got this new company. You got to invest in it. So I can give 100,000 shares. You must be insulting me. I can't do 100. I need 125. This guy in 20 minutes got $20 million almost out of this guy. They call them guppies, whales, and institutional investors. And I said, and my buddy came back, sat on the desk, and I was like, how much this guy just made? He said 18% of almost 20 million. And he started laughing. I said, are you serious? He said, he said, he's the little guy in here. The rest of the guys are making more. And those guys behind the windows, the glass windows, they're pulling institutional investors $1 billion, like Sony and places like that. I said, bro, I don't know what I have to do, but I'm in. He started cracking up. He said, that's why you're here. I couldn't believe it. Wow. So that was my beginning of working in a boiler room. So you may have seen that movie, The Boiler Room. Yeah. If not, after that movie came The Wolf of Wall Street. And after that came Wall Street, these movies. And so the guy that was doing this stuff was Richard Gatsby. They made the movie about this guy.
Right.
So, Richard Gatsby. I have him here in my phone. He was the guy that was training us, right? So I was very lucky and fortunate to get into this. That was my introduction to high finance. So after that, I went on and I worked in there for a while. Then I went into banking. Then I went into as a VC, venture capitalist. Then we opened up Crane Lilly with real estate and notes, selling notes, $1 trillion notes. And we managed $2.4 billion in notes in 2008. And that started my career in high finance. So what we do is a scratch pubco in my company. We take companies from scratch to a publicly traded company or anything in between. That's high finance talk. They call it Latin. So in high finance and money, it's based on a different language than the 85% are used to. Mm-hmm. So it's called Latin. So when somebody in high finance says, man, he speaks Latin, he says, yes. He said, oh, okay. So we went in and just to explain a little bit about Latin, not to take too long.
No, go ahead. I mean, I'm sure that people want to know. I mean, we need to learn this, right?
I'm coming out with the book in about 3 weeks. It's the book to teach everybody Latin so that they don't have to worry about Section 8. They don't have to worry about government cheese. They don't have to worry about free healthcare. They just walk in with a Willie, which is a corporation, and they walk into the bank and say, Willie needs $400,000. That's seed money. That's what we call seed capital. Seed capital, if you follow the rules, there's no reason to not have money. But they don't teach you the rules. If you don't learn the rules of the road, how to drive a car, you don't know how to press the brake, you don't know how to press the gas, you don't know how to start it, you're not going to get very far. So what we teach is Latin. For instance, 2,000 years ago, and during this time of Jesus, they started this thing called making a corporation a person, right? So they separated those people back then they couldn't speak. They spoke Aramaic, and then the people that were rich, the 85% poor, spoke Aramaic, and the rich folks they spoke Latin, and of course the Jewish people spoke Hebrew. So they separated themselves from the poor language. And the same thing today is English is a poor language, right? It's a Baltic of Latin. It's what they call a romantic language. So English is a lower language, and unfortunately, 85% don't understand. They understand Latin. They don't understand Latin. They understand English. They don't understand Latin. So back then, not only did they separate the languages, but they also separated the wealthy and the corporation from the people. So just like today, the United States of America is a corporation out of Delaware, formed in Delaware. You can look that up online. So this corporate thing is what everybody should be learning in school, but everybody's
And
not.
they don't teach you.
They don't teach this.
No.
They don't teach this. So what happens is, for instance, United States is a corporation that's only DC. That's why you can't vote if you live in DC, because it's a mama corp, right? A C corp. And then what happens is they go down and the states are corporations. And the states are not only corporations, but the cities, unless you're very rural, are corporations, and the people are corporations. If you don't believe me, turn over your social, look at your corporate number on the back. So they set this whole thing up 2,000 years ago to separate the rich from the poor. So, yes, so what happens is if you look at your money, you see on the back, it's in Latin. It says e pluribus unum. That means out of one comes many, right? If you go to, like, for instance, the water, the people, they separated them also from the laws of money. So the people are under moral law. If you say, for instance, you break a law. If you break a law, thou shalt not steal, thou shalt not lie, thou shalt not do this, whatever, you get a penalty, right? But if you go to, let's say, money is based on admiralty law, water law, not moral law. So there's no morals. You have to bring the morals to the table when you're dealing in money in corporations. So the corporation is based on water law. That's why a pirate a long time ago, even now, if he does something to you in the water, he can take your ship, the bounty, the booty, everything, and go back old peg leg and have a drink on land. He says, I'm going to sue you. I'm going to do something. He said, you can't do anything to me. I did that on the water. There's no law in the water. That's why you have liquidity. That's why you have currency. That's why you have, it's all water language. You put your money in a bank, right? A bank is where the water meets the land. That's a bank. A ship is a birth. A birth is how a woman has a baby. A ship lives in a birth. You are born, they give you a birth certificate because they own you. Like, for instance, I'm an expert witness in court, and the guy says, real story, the guy says, the judge says, who's representing you? And the guy says, I'm representing myself. The judge looks down over his glasses at him and says, well, you have a fool for a client, a fool for an attorney. He says, why did you say that? He says, because you don't speak Latin. He said, we speak Latin here and you're not going to do very well. He said, because you should have said, if you spoke Latin, I'm here pro per, Your Honor. That means self, pro per, but you didn't. So I can't advise you, but I would say, maybe you should go get yourself an attorney. I will adjourn this until a month and get an attorney who went to school to learn contract law and Latin. That's what attorneys went to school to learn, Latin.
My gosh.
Now, I'll tell you one thing.
That's crazy.
How I can prove this. If you go, a judge comes out, he sits on the bench, right? The judge comes out in his black robe, he sits on a bench, it's higher than everybody. When the judge comes in, you stand up, he sits on the bench. He says, oh, everybody sit down. What does bench mean in Latin?
I don't know.
Bench means bank in Latin. Just look up on Google and say bench and what does bench mean in Latin? And they're going to tell you bank, blanco, blanca, bank, right? So who hires the judge, right? The corporation, right? Because the corporation it's separate from everything. Corporation's a separate entity, and they appoint judges, and they all work for the bank.
You're right, because in Spanish, bench is also banco.
Banco, that's right. So you see how this
is very similar.
Very similar, because Spanish is also a Baltic of Latin.
Right. And I know fluent Spanish.
And so is Italian.
Mm-hmm.
They're
Yes, it
all
is.
Baltic
And
romantic.
Portuguese. And
Yes.
Portuguese. And
And
Portuguese.
Portuguese, yes.
Mhm.
So you see how this stuff is connected, but they don't want you to know. So the main thing is when the United States goes in, you're born, they take a bunch of money, billions of dollars, and they put it in your name because you become a corporation that they control. Then they get bonds, put that money in bonds, and now they control the bond market, and they use that to borrow the money from the Federal Reserve, which lends the money to us, Federal Reserve note. And now they borrow against you, and you pay back the federal dollars that they're borrowing in taxes, in federal taxes.
That is what?
So that means you have to be able to have a mannequin like they control you, right? You have to have a mannequin, which is a corporation that you control. That's the way you can go into the bank, right? The Blanco and borrow based on the corp. So you walk in and get $100, $200, $300,000 and say, I didn't borrow it. Willie borrowed it.
Mm-hmm.
And if Willie screws up, you walk back in with Leroy. So Leroy didn't do anything to you. And you say, Leroy needs some money. That's how the rich do it. Now, I'm not saying to rip the bank off because the bank is our friend.
Right. Of course. No, but there are just certain ways to do things.
I had a friend of mine, a close friend. I'll jump in front of a train for him.
Mm-hmm.
He helped me grow up since I was a kid. And we're very close. He says, I'm your best friend. I said, no, Ronnie, you're not my best friend. He said, well, what do you mean? Right? He got insulted. I said, well, remember I asked you for that. Remember I asked you for that 100,000, that 150, 100,000, and you weren't able to give it to me? He's like, yeah, I remember that. I said, well, guess what? I said, I jumped in front of a train for you, but you know where I got that 150 from? My best friend. He said, well, who is this? I says, well, he's called the bank. I said, because whenever I need some money or I need some financial help or whatever, I can always go to my bestie and get money and help me out in my world, in my house, my cars, my finances, my children. So that makes you my second best friend.
Wow. Wow.
I said, but since he's not a person, you're really like the best friend, but that's my first.
I hear you. I hear you. So Nick, let me ask you this question because I know a lot of people are thinking, and I got my wheels going. Okay. So LLCs, corporations, S corps, they're all different.
Yes, they are. So we need to understand this. They need to teach us this. If this is the foundation of all our money, then how come we don't understand money, right? They should teach us this in grammar school, high school.
Yes.
But they don't because everybody's not meant to be rich. Okay, so we're eliminating the middle class. Pretty soon it's going to be rich and poor.
Yeah,
right? No. 85% poor now, 15% rich. Actually 10% rich, and then 5% understand what's going on. Yeah. That's like your Jay-Z and those 5%ers, Common and Erykah Badu, those people, they call themselves 5%ers, right? So pretty soon it's going to be 90, 95% poor because you have something that's called the Great Reset.
Right. And that's what we're in right now.
We're in right now.
Yes.
So what does that mean for you? You can smile and laugh and go party all you want.
No,
but if
I'm
you
working.
Don't get your finances together and become the corporation,
mm-hmm.
they're gonna own you, and you're not gonna have anything that you own. That's your straw man.
Right.
So
right.
People are trying to remove themselves so that they can go get this money, and they call it being sovereign. Right. But what I'm trying to show you is how you can still be a citizen
mm-hmm.
and be sovereign with the straw man and still have your rights.
And that's what we need, because I've heard of being sovereign, you give up your rights or whatever, and you're sovereign, you're not a citizen anymore. And I'm like, okay, what is in between that? How can you get in between that? And literally, how can you get from having a business? Let's just go ahead and say you have a mom and pop business and you have one store, you have whatever. How do you transform out of just the one and get that money so that you can move forward? That's where a lot of people are right now. They're either got their side hustles, like this was my side hustle, but now it's my business. I quit my job a year and a half ago, and this
Wow.
became what I do. And yes, probably making pennies. I'm probably making half pennies. Let's just go back to the European days when the big bills were big, okay, and they had a half a penny. Okay, let's
Sure,
just okay.
sure, sure, sure.
So the 95% future or 85% now, what do some of us do? Because I know a lot of us are working hard. What do we do not to get left behind and get to that top 5, that top 15%?
Well, you first need to understand the structure of the corporation. You first need to understand that that's how the money is, that's how it works, and learn the system, because there's rules to this. First rule is other people's money, other people's ideas, and other people's efforts.
I love it.
This is the
Yeah,
rule.
don't reinvent the wheel, guys.
Don't reinvent the wheel. This is a rule. So other people's money, other people's ideas, and other people's efforts. So the bank's money, when you first start out, the next rule is seed capital. Seed, let's call it seed money. You need seed money in order to do things, right? And then after you acquire seed money, that's your 100, 200, 300, $400,000. That's seed money. And why would the bank want to give you that money? Because the bank works different from you. I know banking, high-end banking. If you put $1,000 in the bank now has 9 times more than you put in. If you go in and you borrow 1,000, that now the bank has 10,000 plus the interest they owe you owe them. So you're making them 9 times richer. On top of that, the money's insured. The money double insured, FDIC insured, also privately insured, right? There's bonding on the money. There's then after the bank closes, get this, they take all the money that you put in, deposits, loans, and everything, and they take it and they go and they trade on the market with the money that you have as though they're 9 times richer on platforms. So the bank the next day opens up is triple times the amount that richer than they were when you first the day
That's
before.
right. That's
So
right.
they want to give you the money because they're not doing you any favors, right? They're not doing you any favors. What they're doing is lending you your own money. You just don't know how to do the paperwork. Remember, because they're borrowing the money from the Federal Reserve. In fact, they're borrowing the money. The local bank is borrowing from a bigger bank, and the bigger bank is borrowing it from the Fed. And the Fed is basically getting the money from either International Monetary Fund or what they call the International Monetary Fund lends all the money to the people in the West, like us, North America, Canada, Europe. Right, but the people on the east of the world, they get their money from the World Bank, and those 2 banks are owned by 16 people, all the money in the world.
Oh my gosh,
okay,
that's crazy. That is absolutely crazy, and most people don't know this. And most people don't know this.
But why not? Because everybody's not meant to be rich. See, so the bank is your friend, because they want to give you the money, but they can't. They say there's certain laws under GAAP and general accountant acceptance principles, right? These rules, if they could, they'd have everybody sign up so they could be 10 times richer. But you can't. You got to follow the rules.
Right. Is that where you come in?
Where I come in is I teach this.
Sweet.
Right. So what I teach is, and that's just the overview. The bare nuts of it is where the hammer hits the nail is how do you do it? So a lot of people are on the internet teaching you a little bit about corporations, a little bit about credit, a little bit this. So we are economicmasonry.com and look, right? And we teach 360 CEO. That means not a little of this, a little of that, a little of this. We teach the full circle. Now, we're not economic masonry with a G, Freemasons. We're not that. Anybody who's a Freemason, make sure that you look at the symbol correctly, because there's not a G in the middle. There's an E. That means masonry means builder, to build. Economic builder, economic masonry, right? Yeah. It's 360 CEO. So we can go in and give you the full Nelson. Now, rule number one: other people's money, other people's ideas, other people's efforts. Rule number two: seed money, and then get yourself foundation capital. Mm-hmm. So that's your corporation that you can stand on because you got the seed money, and then springboard funding to springboard yourself into where you need to go. And that includes leveraging the money that you have. Because it's easy to get it, but it's hard to hold it.
Yeah, and where to put it. And I mean, you need help with that. You just don't get the money and then just go crazy. No, you need help with that.
Well, I was a financial advisor, as I said earlier. I was a VC. And so one of the main things that I used to teach is a 3-bucket plan. That's very well known in high finance. So a person should have that money coming in that gives them a good lifestyle. And you can get that seed money to make that happen from the bank, right? Easily. They say blue socks, red shoes, blue socks. You walk in with red shoes, blue socks, you got the money. But nobody's teaching you that you need to wear red socks and blue shoes. See? So because they can't tell you this, they cannot advise you. They can only tell you what their package is. You know, like Burger King. We got the new such and such burger. They can't, that's the only thing they can tell you is we got the new burger, but we can't tell you how to do this and this and this and this and this. Mm-hmm. Right? So I'm here to show them the rules. So the first rule is if you build a house on 6 inches of concrete, you say, okay, great, that's honey. Yeah, that's great. Let's build a second story. And the honey looks at you and says, well, honey, I'm sorry, we can't. Say, why not? He says, because it won't hold, the foundation won't hold it. We should have built it on 12 inches of concrete. Now you got to tear it all down. Yes. That's what people do with their business. They learn as they go and then try to grow. And what do? They get money. You're supposed to, first thing they do is try to do business to get money. People go out and try to do everything they can to grow and get what's the end result so they can get money. Mm-hmm. You're supposed to get money from the bank and do business. People doing it backwards. You don't work your butt off to go get money, try to get money.
Right.
Because at the end of the year, if you make $100,000 a year, after you pay all your bills, you got what, $10,000 left over, 20,000, right? Even, and then maybe not that.
Not that.
You need a bulk lump sum of money. So you need to go in and get 100, 200, 300, 400,000 that the bank calls pennies.
Right. That's, and even 100,000 now is not enough.
No. So you have to gauge what you need, then double it.
Right.
Go to the bank and say, my Willie, not me. Or if you're a female, then call her Wilhelmina. I don't care what you call her. They don't care, right? They do care, and I'll explain that because it's called a SIC code, an SIC code. Look that up. That means that identifies what you're doing in your business. Banks talking codes. So we teach you the correct SIC code to put in so that you will not get a decline. So look up SIC code. What that means is 2226. Let's use that number. 22, the bank says 22. What does that mean? That means this person is a truck driver. Okay, that identifies that's what they do. And then the other thing is that person is in the transportation industry. Truck driver, transportation industry, 2224. The SIC code is 2224 or 2226, whatever I said.
Right.
So that's the identifier. You don't want the incorrect SIC code, and they're not going to teach you this. So you got an SIC code and you have a NICS code, NICSC code. They're switching from SIC to NICSC code because in 1996, they started switching over because it's a better identifier. But
Right.
they're using both. They're using both now.
Mm-hmm.
So you never want to tell the bank with your mama corp, and that's the C corp. That's what you want, and I'll tell you why. The C corp can do everything. Is it the United States of America C corp?
Yes, it is. I believe.
Then that's what you want.
Yeah.
So the C corp is what you want to deal with. That C corp is a 7. Picture 7. Maybe from your angle, 7 is this way. So
yeah,
the 7 is over in the corner, right? Your C corp, your mama corp. The mama has babies. Those are called doing business as DBAs.
Or can you have your C corp on the LLC?
You can have your C corp, and the LLC goes underneath the C corp. I'll tell you why you don't want an LLC. Some people are learning a little, but then it takes them later on. They have to tear it all down because it's not the proper, foundation. Again, 6 inches, you can't build a second story. But your whole idea is to give your children a legacy and to grow. Your company is supposed to be worth something, not just what you make. Not just what you make.
And that's what an LLC is.
Well, an LLC is what banks don't like. Now, I'll tell you why. You're sitting at a gas station. I walk up to you, or somebody walks up to you and says, you know what? We've been talking for an hour here. We have great synergy, I think. So maybe we can exchange numbers and talk a little further about whatever we've been talking about. And you say, well, okay, that's okay. You pull your phone out. Yeah, what's your number? And the person says, before I do this, I want to make sure that we are honest. So I like that. So now you're looking at him like, what are you talking about? So the person says, I just want to let you know, I have a little, I'm a little limited. You're going to look at that person and say, red flag.
Yeah, I got you.
Now, then he says, or she says, whichever you're talking to, you know what? And I want to make sure that we're totally open, total clarity with this. You say, okay, now you got your phone like this. Okay. And you say, I like honesty. Yeah, what else? He says, and I'm also, I have some liability. You're gonna say, wait a minute, what is your baby mama after you? You're the mafia? What's going on here, right? You're limited and you got liability.
Right.
That's what the bank looks at you as. They don't deal with risky things. LLCs are for risky things. Right? So you're gonna say to that person, oh, you know what? I forgot I gotta pick my sister up. And they're gonna, well, what about the phone number? What about the phone? You say, no, I'll catch up with you.
I'll call you later.
I'll call you, but you don't have my number. That's okay, I'll catch up with you.
Facebook,
I'll catch up with you. Because who wants limited in liability?
Wow.
So people do go along with that because they don't see the signs. I heard somebody say, believe what people tell you because they're telling you the truth.
Yeah.
It's up to you.
Wow.
So now, the next thing is to make sure that you don't get an LLC, because you can do business with an LLC, but you cannot get money from the bank like you can do with a C Corp.
Gotcha.
But now, what does an LLC do? The LLC is for like a doctor. They operate on you and say they mess up. Because you know what a doctor does. A doctor has a practice, right? So they practice.
Right, it's a practice.
They practice on you. They practice. So they go and operate, they screw up. Not all of them. Somebody screws up. And the doctor says, and the person says, I'm suing you because you left a gore in me or something, So they're saying, well, you can sue me, but I'm limited and I have a limited liability and I have license, bonded, you're not getting anything from me. I'll scrap this and put another one in place. You're not getting any of my money. That's what that's for.
Right.
Or a person is a truck driver. They don't like SIC codes with trucks. A truck can tear things up.
Oh yeah, I've seen the potholes.
They don't do that. They can do serious damage.
Yeah.
So they don't want risky things, right? Or a construction worker, a brick falls on somebody's head. He says, hey, look what you did to my head. He says, you know what? I'm going to sue you. He says, I'm licensed, insured, and bonded, and I'm an LLC. You're not getting nothing from me. That's what an LLC is for. Or for real estate, to transfer documents easily in LLCs. Gotcha. So with an LLC, you can go and do business, right? So why is a person over here worth $1 million and the person over here doing the same thing, but they're worth $5 million?
Right.
Because you're only talking about the revenue that you've made, the money you've made. They're talking about what my business is worth, like Oprah.
Right.
Oprah is worth $3 billion. She doesn't have that in her closet or in her mattress. It won't fit. It's what her company is worth, not her own or Harpo. Right? Like Trump, he's worth, whatever he's worth, 20 billion, 40 billion, right? What about Bezos? 100 billion? You think he has that in his closet?
I don't think he has that in the bank either.
He doesn't. It's just numbers in the system. That's all it is. Money is only fiat money. Fiat money, right? I used to, when I give seminars sometimes, I show people the first money that was ever made by Benjamin Franklin, okay? That is your first money. That's what it looks like. Okay? That's your first money. So I'm going to show you what it looks like on the back of the money. This is your first dollar, 1/3 of a dollar. You see that? 1/3 of a dollar. They did not have, at that time, they didn't have clocks. Old Ben Franklin invented the clock.
Right.
Later on.
It was a sundial. Okay.
So what's the sundial? The sun is beaming on the sundial. The sundial, that means time. Remember, I said it's in Latin. So over here is Latin, Fugio. You see that, Fugio? Okay, that means time is running fast. So what does it say at the bottom?
Mind your business. Mind your business.
Why is it on all the money that they made? All the money. Mind your business. You see that?
Go over a little bit. I see it.
Mind your business. All the money. It says, mind your business. Why is that? Mind your business. Time is running fast. Fugio, Latin. Why? Because no one back then worked for anybody. Everybody was an apprentice if you work for somebody to learn a trade to go work for yourself. So they said, time is running fast. So take care of your business, because everybody had a business. So now,
my goodness,
the nitty gritty.
Nitty gritty. I like that.
All right. So you need seed capital to build your foundation corporation, which is your straw guy or straw woman. And this used to be the good old boys club. But I got news for anybody out there listening. Okay. Even if it's just you and I got news for you. Janet Yellen is the chairman of the Fed, who gives all the money. So it's no longer a good old boys club. It's becoming the good old girls club also.
That sounds good.
That's the way I'm here to tell the truth. Okay, that's the way it is. So get out of your mind that this is just us and she's my secretary. Oh no, pretty soon you're going to be her secretary if you don't catch up. Facts. So understand your assignment. Everybody should know this. And there's no need for free health care when you can go to the bank and they give you $200,000, $300,000, $400,000 and buy the best health care you want. So this is what I teach, and now I teach them how to do it. So basically, the LLC is, that's what you use for things that are problematic, things that may cause problems for safety. You must get the money, then you must protect the money, you must invest the money, and then you must expand. That's called an upside down T. Upside down T, right? That means you grow wide and you also grow up. You grow wide in your businesses. You should have 50 podcasts around the world, 100 wide. And then also you should have DBAs of things that are extensions of that. You should be in media. You should be in whatever underneath that because it's gaining you so much money. So you're growing wider and wider and wider. Then you're going up in revenue because you're growing wide. It's going to grow up in money.
Yeah, I'm at the wide stage right now. I'm growing wide.
And that's great. Yeah. Right? So now you need
that's a pyramid.
Don't ever say that.
No?
Pyramids are illegal.
Really?
Don't ever say pyramid, right?
Wow. Oh my gosh. So why is it on the money?
The pyramid is on the money because they can. You can't. People who own the game can make them can print their monopoly money any way they want.
True.
You're looking to play Monopoly without money, you're not going to win.
Right.
The only thing you can do when you're in a Monopoly game and you're not issued any money like everybody else, the only thing you can do is cheat, steal, or you may go to jail. That's all you can do. Steal, cheat, or go to jail. If you have money, like everybody else, you have an even playing field. So what we teach is
not a pyramid.
It's not a pyramid. It is an upside down T, right? But it turns into something similar as a pyramid, if you want to call it that. But be careful of the language.
Gotcha. Because it's Latin and we got to be careful what we're saying.
Most exactly. So now you go in, you take not an LLC, because an LLC, you can do business, but you can't make your company built worth anything. You can't build that second story.
Right.
So you don't want a first story or second story. You want a legacy for your children, the Empire State Building. You want to keep growing like Walmart, right? Like any other business. So in order to do that, to build the Empire State Building, you have to have 40 feet of concrete.
Yes.
So that's what you need to build it on 40 feet of concrete. How do you build it on 40 feet? You have the correct entity, the correct straw man. I didn't do it. Willie did it. Or Wilhelmina did it. If you like female names, right? So now, the next company is an LLC. The next company is called an S Corp. What is an S Corp? An S Corp is when you go in and you have investors. Some guy come in and says, you know what, or lady, I hit the lottery. I want to put 100,000 in your business. You say, great, let's go. And the C Corp, by the way, gives you that great ability to print money, but no one ever orders the book for $100. It has the stamp in it. It has the paperwork in the back to give shares, to issue shares, and get other people's paper for your paper. All this backdoor information going on.
You see, people need to get with you. I need to get with you. Forget people. Forget y'all, okay? Just All right. I need to get with you. You know, it's just ironic that we can all learn something new. If we did that, we would be further along than where we are at now. You know, starting out somewhere and going somewhere, two different things. You can literally just stay here the rest of your life. But then you'll miss out on that tea.
That's what you're supposed to do. You're supposed to be here the rest of your life because you're supposed to be the battery that makes the machine run.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sorry to say. Okay. So what you want to do is make your company worth, have your company worth, right? Have your company worth. Let me close the door.
Mm-hmm.
So have your company worth, right? One person brings in a bunch of revenue, $1 million a year. That's all they're worth is the money that they bring in.
Right.
But
what I'm saying is they never get to the growth part. They just stay here. That's it.
That's because they don't understand how to grow it in a proper structure. They don't understand that a business should be built to sell, even if you don't sell it. It has to have a valuation. It has to be worth something.
Mm-hmm.
It's the person that you're just taste, feel, touch, smell, and hear for it. You drive the cars for it. You buy the houses. It owns the houses. You live in the house because it can't walk and talk. You have to do it for it.
Thank you so much for stopping by. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to this channel. Hit that notification bell so you'll be notified the next time that I upload. And don't forget to dare to be different. Until next time, guys.
I dare to be different. I dare to be different. I dare to be